and we have one power steering high pressure line, and it is filthy. Now, before you buy one of these, you need to look at the end. There's a 2 bend and a 3 bend. Both of them are used in this model of car. I don't know why. I guess there's 2 different steering racks and it connects at a different location. This is the 2 bend one. The 3 bend one has a 3rd bend at this end. That is all on that. Mine is a 2 bend. I ordered the 2 bend one online. Make sure you order the right part. Good afternoon, YouTube and the internets. Today we're back on the Falcon. Now I let the rego slip on this last year and been driving the Corolla, but it's time to get this thing back on the road. Now I did get a mobile roadie guy out to inspect it, to give me a roadie, to get it re-registered, and he failed on a handful of items. Only 2 of them actually require repair. The first thing is the power steering. He said the high pressure hose is leaking, and let me get some light. If you look at the high pressure line running all the way down there, it is covered in power steering fluid, and when I look at here, we are down at the low level. These are notorious for leaking power steering fluid, but it may well actually be the reservoir. So I've actually got the power steering hose, the high pressure hose, so the intent was just to replace that, but as soon as I got in here I went, oh hang on, these things always have leaky reservoirs, and then they leak onto the alternator, and then the alternators get fried. It's a very, very common issue for these things. So for starters, I'm going to try and get as much fluid out of that reservoir as possible, and to do that I'm going to get a syringe. So I couldn't find a syringe, grabbed the next best thing. This is one of my gearbox oil transmission pump bottles. So what I'm going to do is set it up. Put the fill end inside the bottle, turn it so it can't pop out. Do the lid. And pump out the fluid. Now, unfortunately, due to the design of this, I can only get the pump, that shaft to about there, and all that bit down the side is still full. So we're going to end up with oil everywhere. So a syringe with a small hose on it would be better. I'm going to go have another look. Okay, so I found a syringe, and this piece of hose is a piece of vacuum hose that's actually off the Skyline originally. It's a perfect fit. This is why we hoard things. Let's get this down in the bottom of the reservoir. Geez, that's not got a lot out, has it? End of the hose turned up. Let's cut that off a bit shorter. Hopefully I can get that to go where I want it now. I'm going to be here all day if I do it 10 millilitres at a time. It's not working at all. Why is that not working? Well, it might have been 4 months since I've done anything on the cars and filmed it. I'm just as useless as I always was. Does that reservoir actually not go down any further? This hose just isn't playing the game. It keeps hooking and the end keeps coming up and out of the fluid. I think there's maybe a false bottom in this reservoir. I guess we'll find out when I get it off. Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. Effectively I got it all out with the first pumping apart from those last few mil. Okay, and with this reservoir, I believe I'm wrong. I believe it just pops right off, but something's holding it in. I wonder if the whole power steering pump has to come off. Of course, like always, you're learning with me. I've not done this on a Falcon before. I've got no idea how this comes off, but I'll figure it out. I know how to get that hose off, but I want to take the reservoir off and make sure it's not the cause of the leak and it's just running down the hose externally. I don't think that's the case. You know, these are common for leaking. I think it's more a case of the hose itself. So to make sure I'm right about this false bottom theory. Yeah. Oh wait, there seems to be a bit deeper at the back. Doesn't appear to be any fluid in it though. Definitely like a shelf floor thing going on in the front half. Oh, and if I look real careful, I think I can see a divider with a light against it here. Now there may actually be fluid below it, but it's hard to tell. It looks to me like there's some sort of dividing plate which I'm not going to be able to get past. If it does keep going, it's going to get to keep the rest of that fluid in it. Alright, let's pop that back on so no crawlies get in there. I thought these just popped off effectively, and it may actually do that, but it feels pretty damn solid. So I'll be back in a minute with the answer. So I have investigated how the reservoir comes off the pump. It's going to be easier to take off the pump rather than try and get that off while it's in place, whether or not that's even possible. There's a clip underneath. Yeah, I don't think you can even get access to it, and a clip on the under here as well. So looks like the pump actually has to come off to gain access to the reservoir. So here's what I'm going to do. Change of tact. I am going to just do the high pressure hose first, and before I do anything else, basically what I should have done to empty this reservoir is take the low pressure return line off and started the car and just let it pump the system out. Obviously you don't want to be running the pump dry for an extended period of time, so just a few seconds should do it, especially since I've taken everything out of the reservoir that I can. This is important because when I take off the high pressure line, I don't want it full of power steering fluid, obviously, and going to go everywhere. Now, there will be some that will go everywhere, but less going everywhere is better than all of it going everywhere. So the high power, let's get the low pressure line off first. Okay, is this one short enough? Yes it is. So this is a low pressure return. If you don't own a short and long ratcheting screwdriver, you're doing life wrong. Ratcheting everything is the key. And boop, that's that free. And before I pull that off there, I'm going to prepare my reservoir bottle, which I should be able to sit down there on the ground and flip that hose into it. Whoops, nearly lost it. Okay, I may have to put you down to pry this off. Let's see. Am I going to split the hose because I'm doing this one-handed? Probably. Nope. And we don't seem to have a lot of loss coming from the bottle at all, which is a good sign. Makes me believe it is actually empty. No, here it comes. There was just a blockage in the line. Let's pop this under here. So I've got my catch rag there to catch the fluid that's going to shake out of there with the blockage that comes out of it. And I've got my catch bottle there to catch the fluid when I turn it over. It's been sitting for a while, battery's drained, so jumper starter, jumper kit, jumper pack on it. And honestly, I reckon that's enough. We've got plenty of room in the bottle. Let's go again. I could hear it sloshing around. Oh, power steering. It's pretty heavy. And we've collected about half a litre, which is that all the fluid in those lines? Don't know. Is it a half a litre less that ends up on my floor? Yes. Yes it is. So I'm going to let that drip for a while, because I don't know any way of making that come out quicker. What's going on there, I believe, is there's a series of baffles in here which is preventing my hose from getting down into there. And my understanding, based on logic, is what that's doing is that's preventing the return line from cavitating the fluid in here, stirring it up too much, getting air in it, etc. Yeah, so when it, like if it's low and it's got a heap of stuff coming back and it just comes in flowing freely, it's likely to cavitate, capture air, mix air in it, and then suck that into the pump, which is obviously bad for your power steering. So I'm guessing that's what's going on. And next we'll get at that high pressure line at the top and at the bottom, which is on the back of the steering rack, so I'm going to have to jack it up for that. Okay, so I've got the old girl up in the air, and this is to the guy who was complaining about me putting my leg under the car when I did the rear axles. Just like then, it's sitting on 4-ton axle stands, 2 of them, that's 8-ton load capacity, and the jack there for safety. Just like it was then, and I think we're somewhere around the 15mm mark on this. So feel free to comment, but also feel free to be wrong if you think I'm being unsafe. And unlike most people, a severe crush injury and amputation at the knee wouldn't actually be the worst thing for me, because eventually the titanium bits I got on my knees got to come out anyway when it's worn out. So I'm just going to be bringing it forward. Okay, so that's a 17. We should probably pull this sensor off while we're here. Oh god damn it, of course that went down there. There it is. I've got a tool for that. When I said I got a tool for that, I lied. I've got 4. 3 of them are here, but pretty sure that's going to be magnetic. Boop. Lovely. And for the non-magnetic items, the super claw. But I also have another magnetic one with a sheath, so the magnet is hidden inside a shaft to get it down in between things that are magnetic. You touch it on and then you do the same thing here. You push the plunger down and it pokes the magnet into the item you're trying to grab. So this should be a simple clip. I'll almost certainly lose as well. It's always better doing things one-handed. Things I do for YouTube. Kind of see in there. Oh, that's pretty much out on this side. There we go. Even got it out without dropping it. And that's our power steering pressure sensor, so that'll put the light on the dash. There's no pressure at that point because this is the high pressure line. Looks wet in there. I wonder if power steering could actually go through the sensor. fluid could actually go through the sensor, and that could be the source of the leak. Who knows? Possibly, probably. If that's the case, I'm going to be in trouble because the new hose doesn't come with a new sensor. And it'll all just happen again. But let's do the hose, then worry about that. So this is loose. Let's go down the steering rack. So this is the line we're doing here. It's handy that it's covered in power steering fluid to help identify it. I've assumed it's the same size, and we all know what happens when we assume stuff. You son of a bitch. Of course it's going to be like 18, something retarded, isn't it? But I apologise, it's actually a 19, not an 18, so I apologise to the engineer who did the right thing. Pity about where he put it, but we are free, and we're going to go get our bottle and some rags because I'm expecting some fluid to come out of this. Even though we pumped it out, there's going to be some residual stuff in that line for sure. Sorry about the light, at least it's better light than you normally get, which is none when I'm under the car. Okay, got my rag ready. And we'll just let that drip down, and of course it's missing the rag. Let that drip down on my rag here while I go loosen the top one. It's gotten tight again somehow. Again, with an engine bay the size of this bloody thing, why they have to put things under and around other things makes no bloody sense. I mean, surely this could be further back. Now apparently one of the common problems is the actual O-ring on this hose being to blame. So I may have wasted like $120 on a line, but the report said the line. I replaced the line. Voila. And no, that actually looks reasonably dry on the thread. So it's hard to tell. Car that this old, shit gets everywhere. Anyway, that should be completely free now, and I should be able to pull it up. I'll get this crap out of the way and see if I can do that. Before I can pull that out of the way, I've got to release this somehow. Is that how? Just push that through. It would appear so. Come halfway out, come all the way out. There we go. Alright, so I guess the bottom end will come through the top. Or I'm going to undo the bracket as well. Come on. Yeah, that fits through there. Bang. Oh, of course. Alright, it's everywhere now. And we have one power steering high pressure line, and it is filthy. Now, before you buy one of these, you need to look at the end. There's a 2 bend and a 3 bend. Both of them are used in this model of car. I don't know why. I guess there's 2 different steering racks and it connects at a different location. This is the 2 bend one. The 3 bend one has a 3rd bend at this end. That is all on that. Mine is a 2 bend. I ordered the 2 bend one online. Make sure you order the right part. This, go over there. Remind me never to try and make 2 concurrent videos on adjacent but slightly different repairs at the same time. All I've done is made my life, my filming and my editing much more difficult. I've got to remember that I haven't told you in this one, if you're only watching this one, I've been away for 6 weeks. But the step we're about to do with two hands I think, is remove this pressure switch from the old line, which I should have done before I threw it. We're going to take this off, put it on the new line and install the new line. Nut Falcon 3000. I'm assuming this is a standard thread type, and it is. O-ring in there looks pretty good. If I had some spare ones laying around, I'd replace it, but I don't, so I'll leave that one on. So here's the high pressure hose. It actually comes with O-rings. We've got one down there for that end, and we've got two here for this end. One on this end and one for the pressure sensor. So, like I said at the start of the video, this is a 2 bend, 12 Pro Mega 2 and 3 bend for the different models. This is an American part apparently, on an Aussie built car. Whatever, don't care. It's going in. This has been sitting in my computer room for months now, ready to go, but I hadn't got around to it. Now, got to try and remember, since it's been 6 weeks, what was the easiest way to do it. I'll put the pressure sensor on once I've got the line in the car too. Okay, to get this in, you got to sort of put it in backwards, get the bend through, then you can lay the hose in its normal direction, feed it down, goes past that one I think to the rack below, and what we'll do is we'll install it on the bottom first, and then we'll know how much slack we've got at the top where it's a bit easier to work. And this piece of crap rubber goes over the top and slips back up into this little sheet metal frame thing to stop everything rubbing. Let's get onto the car. Okay, let's rotate our hose, jiggle it back and forth, take the tension off, straight in the hole the old one came out of. Ideally, you would be doing this job 5 minutes after you've taken the old one out, or even less, not weeks and weeks later. So I think I've managed to not thread that in correctly. That seems a little too tight. Let's pull it out and have another go. No, it was threaded in correctly, it just had a little too much tension on it from the weight of the hose, so when I pushed the bend forward, it released the tension. And I should have some spanners down here somewhere. I remember this being a pain. Actually, can I get through there? Yeah, it's not too bad. So I won't do this all the way up for tension reasons, so I can manipulate and move the hose and get it in the positions I want. So I'll just back it off a smidge so I can easily rotate and move it around while getting the other end sorted and that little bracket thing. Okay, here's our other end. Goes into the pump like so. Goes into the pump like so. It's another two-handed job. Oh wait, no, got it. Almost got it. So again, just a case of getting the angles and the load off it, and it goes in a little bit fiddly. Not too bad in the grand scheme of things. Again, we're not going to put full tension on that just yet. Let's get this bloody thing, whatever you want to call this, in place. Just slips inside there. I imagine there's a lot of cars running around without this. I imagine it's going to be a pain in the ass to get back in there. Not too bad. So the only thing that keeps that in is friction. Stops the hoses rubbing together. And now, last but not least, let's get that pressure switch. Well, it's not last. Let's get, okay, so everything's aligned, everything's in now, so let's do this up. I think I had the wrong size spanner for that. It got me started. But I think this is the right size. It's a 16, not a 17. That should be tight enough. If it leaks, I'll tighten it up some more. Let's get under the car. Do this one up. Oops. It's hard to tell where the tension's coming from if I'm just pushing on that. I think I was. Yeah. If I go like this. It's probably tight enough. Try to move my head and the spinner and the camera at the same time to get the light on to work. I'm not very good at this whole filming thing, am I? Never claimed to be. Never claimed to be good at working on cars either. So why do I do this? Have I got the wrong sort of spinner? I'm just sitting here rounding this off. Oh, that's going to make the world of difference, the right size spinner. There we go, yeah, now I can get in the dark. I felt the tension, it's fine. Fine enough for me to put power steering fluid in it anyway, and if it leaks I can do it tighter. Okay, top's tight, bottom's tight. This one should be pretty easy. Rubber thingies in, and this is not the right spinner. There we go. Now I could put another spanner on this and hold it to go against the turn, but honestly that should be enough pressure. And that, it's a new line installed, barring switch, which has got the clip. That I also left in some random place 6 weeks ago. Looks like this. Goes all the way around. Now I got this off without losing it. And I filmed that. So it goes back on the reverse the way it came off. I'm going to use 2 hands and stop filming to make sure I do not drop this. And the best way to ensure that is to put the clip back on the plug. There, done. Now it's ready for some power steering fluid. And this takes some bloody special power steering fluid apparently, which I'm not going to buy. Some Mobile 454, 424, something like that, is what's in the manual. I'm just going to get a recommended power steering fluid for the car, put it in, so I'll go do that now, and then we need to bleed the system. So this is when both videos are going to link back up into the same one. Man, I've done this really hard. I've made this all very hard on myself. But that is that in. Okie dokie, here's my power steering fluid, fresh from Super Cheap. See if I can pour this in without spilling it. Almost. So some of this will be going down the low pressure line until it reaches whatever head pressure it can against the air that's in there. Fill this right up. And then while that sits there and air will naturally try and bubble its way out, I'll clean up all these tools and get ready to start the car. So jumper pack's on, ready to go. It's been sitting for weeks, it won't have any juju. It says the system takes a litre. I got half a litre in there. So I'm expecting, just on the key turn, for it to pretty much pull that whole reservoir through. Yeah, don't like flat batteries. Oh, you can hear it. You see the level dropping slowly. I really hope it stops making that noise in a hurry. Hopefully it's just air cavitating. So let's top this back up. That's a horrible sound. See all the bubbles, it's cavitating. Give it a turn. All the way left, all the way right. Now in the middle, I'm going to turn that off. That sounds awful. Oh dear. Plenty of air came out. Yummy. I don't think it's supposed to do that. Wow. That's maybe an unmitigated disaster. Well, I definitely don't want it on the belt. I'm going to clean that off. So this video might be how to fuck your power steering pump. Potentially. I'm going to ran that fluid through it and lubricated it. Alright, well, I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. It looks like a frappuccino in there. So either there's water in there somewhere, which I don't know where it's come from, or something else is in that system that shouldn't be there. I'm not too sure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to syringe out the fluid that's in there and see if that's just bubbles on top and the fluid's good underneath. I'm not sure. Well, this definitely looks like an oil and water mix to me. Got me fucked. I'm just trying to skim the top. See that milky, yucky shit. Alright, I pulled a little bit out. What I'm going to do is, if it is bubbles, it's aeration. It should sort of go away on its own with time. If it's water, it won't. It may separate. It may just be a case of having to put more and more fluid through it to flush out whatever's gotten in there over the 7 weeks that I was gone. Let's pour some out on the concrete in the corner here. And I'll leave that in the syringe upright. Let it see if it separates out. If it separates into different layers, then there's another fluid in there, a different viscosity. If it was residual power steering fluid, I don't expect it to be an issue because I just bought the right one for the car. At least I think I did. Let me double check that. Good news. This hasn't separated. The air's just all come out of it. So it's just cavitating, and it could be pulling air in, or it could just be the air in the system. My hair's going to be awful. Doesn't matter. You're not here for my looks. So yeah, I'll keep going and try and bleed the air out. Let's see how it goes. Worst case is something's not sealing and it's drawing air in. Not sure where that would be. I think I'd see a leak, but let's I'll have a quick look for a leak, see if there's any drips anywhere there shouldn't be. Obviously I had an overflow here, so there's going to be fluid around from that, but we'll see what happens when I just have a look. And as you can see, the oil in the reservoir settled down, the air's come out of that, so let's start it again, see what happens. Let's put the lid on in case it bubbles up and expands again. Now I did overfill it with the intent that the overfilling would compensate for the air coming out of the system. Let's go again. But that sound was almost certainly the air in the pump, not any damage to it, because it spun freely in my hand. I am half expecting it to make that noise again though. Not that one. That one. Why is there air? It's immediately got froth in the system. I can't feel any leaks there. The low pressure return, the sensor. Why is it difficult? Why has it done this? You would even think just leaving it to sit would have filled the pump just by gravity in the last half an hour that I left it alone to allow that to separate if there was something else in it. And I did double check the type of the power steering fluid is correct for this vehicle, as far as the Penrite website is concerned anyway. I'm going to turn it on again and watch the fluid. It should really be a simple case of starting it and keeping the fluid up to it and then turning the wheels, and then that'll be about it. Oh, the sound's going away. Lovely. Put some fluid I prepared earlier. Top it up. I'm not panicking anymore. I'm going to turn it off in a second because the level's getting low. Just had to work the air out. It had me worried for a second. So it's just the air being compressed and cavitating through the pump. Whew. And I will leave some of this in just so if you do the same job and you end up with the same god awful sound, that you don't panic and go, it's broken. So I'll top that up. It is a little bit over full, not by a lot, because there's still going to be air in here. Like you can see it bubbling up. So I will leave that to rest for a minute. Come back, turn the wheels again. I probably just made it worse by turning the wheels by pumping more air in before it got pressure, before it got a solid flow of fluid. But yeah, I've never had it do that. Make that noise before. It scared me. Did it scare you? I thought I'd fuck something up for sure. Okay, now we're up to the step, should be really step one normally. So when you start it and you don't have the horrible noise, perhaps I'd recommend filling the reservoir and giving it an hour or something, just for the fluid to make its way through and all the air to make its way up in the reservoir. Top it up, then start it. Yeah, it's got the air sound again. Fluid looks alright. The air's been pumped out almost instantly. So now, just turn our steering all the way to the left. Oh, and I can feel it shuddering. And that's air being pulled through the pump. all the way to the right, back to the middle, still shuttering. Let's check the level, do it again. Looks alright, you can see the level there, maybe you can't, I can quite clearly. Let's do it again. You don't have to necessarily do this up in the air. I just figured I'd do it, make it a bit easier on the system before putting it down and repeating it. I've never done it in the air. I just thought it might be wise. Been no change in the level. Doesn't sound like any air's come through. So let's drop it down on the ground and we'll do the same thing. And yes, before I put it on the ground, I did get all my tools out from under the car. Let's go again. Now I'm looking for the dash. I don't see any power steering light for low pressure. Give that a turn. All that you can hear is air being bled. There's quite a lot in there, obviously. I'm looking at the level from here, I can see it. You probably can't see it with the camera. Rightio. Any residual air still in there should make its way out. I would now normally degrease the engine bay, make sure everything's clean and tidy, let it dry, take it for a test drive, but can't degrease it in the rain. And it's unregistered, so I can't take it for a test drive. But if yours is registered still, that's what I would do. So you degrease it first, clean it, make sure everything's neat and tidy, take it for the test drive after everything's dry, and you should be able to see if there's any leaks or anything like that. Also the test drive will pull out any residual air. There's obviously tiny amounts of air still in that system, but it's not enough to stop the power steering from working, and it will make its way out over time. It's sort of a self-bleeding system. It's already better. Yeah. Just that little bit of a shudder. But the power steering is functioning as designed. The shudder will be the air, and I'm talking a very, very tiny amount of air. But that's the job done. Apart from those steps I just said that I'm not going to do on camera, because this video is bloody well long enough. Like 8 weeks in the making, and it's going to be half an hour long. This one and so this is the ending to both videos. One more job to do for Rego is the bump stops. I'll get onto that this afternoon as soon as I finish editing, I think. I may not have time, not sure, but hopefully it should be a very quick job, very short video. I might be able to knock that out in an afternoon before I go away to work. But for now, that's it, finally, for this video. Thanks for hanging around. I apologise for the sort of piss poor nature of this and these two videos, and the what's the word I'm looking for? Thought of the word. Sort of the jumbled up nature, sort of cut to cut. It's not my best work. In the future I'll try and put a bit more effort in to the videos, make sure that they are worth watching. But for now, I will get these up. I'm not going to not put them up. But I already understand that these are not the best videos you've ever seen on YouTube or even my channel by a long way. But they are what you are going to get today in lieu of me having the time to do anything about it. Alright, see ya.